Please note that the following podcast you're about to hear is non-canon, so I must insist that you do not put this on any Bionicle site, Wikipedia, unless it is a special kind of Wikipedia or site for non-canon Bionicle information. The Lewa Chronicles, Chapter 1. Lewa stood in front of the many Bota Magna and Agori. The Agori, to Lewa's dismay, were angered with him by him mentioning the great being imprisoned in the Bota Magnian fortress. "Why, I speak same, my new friends," Lewa said. "Toa Lewa means you no harm." But the Agori couldn't understand his language no more than he could understand theirs. So Lewa tried something else. He jumped out of the crowd of angered Agori. They watched him speechless, although they couldn't understand Matorn. They could understand sign language. Lewa beckoned to the Agori to follow him. They did just that. After a long trek through the jungle, they all came upon a large city filled with Agori, but none of them spoke Matorn. One Agori went ahead of Lewa and told him to follow him. He did just that. Soon they were all shown into a small cottage. The Agori held out his outstretched hand to a female Tersara Agori clad in black and purple armor. Lewa went to her. "Greetings, stranger," she said, speaking perfect Matorn. "What brings you here?" "I am Toa Lewa," Lewa said. "Who, may Lewa ask himself, are you?" "I am Fashia," she said. "I am the gypsy of this Agori settlement. I help those who are sick, lost their path in the jungle, or even their own mind. How may I be of service, strange one?" How do you know my my language?" Lewa asked curiously. "I've been around a while, learned many things, languages included," she said. "Where do you come from?" "Lewa comes from the Matorn universe," he said. "Can you help me and some others get home?" "So, you are one of those immigrants the gold-armored Glatorian was talking about. What was his name? Oh yes, Madanui it was. Turns out that so-called universe was destroyed, but the inhabitants quickly managed to migrate to our world safely." And Agori spoke to Fashia. She nodded and turned back to Lewa. I wouldn't mention that great being around here, young immigrant," she said. "Let's just say some Agori get disturbed by him. Anyway, if you are headed to the fortress that great being, we will come with you for support, young warrior," she said. And with that, Lewa, Fashia, and the rest of the Agori trekked to the fortress of the great being. To be continued. The Lewa Chronicles, Chapter 2. Meanwhile, at the Matorn Agori settlement back at the site of the fallen Makuta, disputes were going on between Matorn and Agori. Toa was busy getting equipment, Rahi, and other survivors of the reign of Makuta out to safety. Meanwhile, Krakua, Toa of Sonics, was watching, pondering what happened to Hellrex, Butaka, Axon, and all. After all, they were members of the Order of Madanui too. Wasn't long before he had an unexpected visitor, who came to Krakua's aid. It was Turaga Vakama. "My apologies, Turaga," Krakua said. "There's no need to apologize, old friend," the Turaga said. What brings you here to me?" asked Krakua. "I have a task for you, my friend," he said. "Please sit and listen to my story." And Krakua did just that. This is a true story that dates back all the way when I was a Toa. I, along with Kitongu, were traveling back to Metru Nui to retrieve the Vahi, but Makuta, as well as the Shadowed One, also wanted it. I sided with the Shadowed One to get it, but Makuta was never far behind. So we finally cached Toa tools. I received a telepathic message from the future, from you, Krakua. You told me in order to save the future that I would be needing to destroy the Vahi, along with time itself. You also told me that you were guarding a fortress. I know you have been pondering about your friends from the Order of Madanui. That's where they are. Go to them. Send the message through time to myself as a Toa Metru. Guard the fortress and save your friends. Krakua waited a while and took in everything the Turaga said to him until he answered. I will leave immediately, he said. First we must have the Glatorians prepare you with a Thornactus along with food and water. Terex then came driving a Thornactus. I shall be of assistance, Turaga, he said. He may use my Thornactus. I will provide him with food and water. After a few hours, Krakua drove his Thornactus off to Bota Magna to save his friends and the present as well. To be continued. The Lewa Chronicles, Chapter 3. At the Bota Magnian fortress, the trapped beings had their own problems. Utaka couldn't keep his eyes off of Vizon. The Kanohi Omak still fused to his face, and Rutaka, without any Kanohi, couldn't help but reach for Vizon. But the chains shackled to him to the fortress wall prevented him from doing so. Rutaka quickly lunged at Vizon's face, hoping to get a lucky break. Would you stop that already? Vizon shouted. You tried that many times now and it never worked. Besides, even if you could reach my face, you wouldn't be able to get it off without ripping my face off. Would you two stop it already? Axon exclaimed. Vizon is right, the Kanohi is unreachable. No, how about you shut it, Axon, Butaka said. I'll get that Kanohi off his face, it's the last thing I— Shut it, Butaka! Hellrex exclaimed. Listen to your leader when I say, forget the Kanohi, we need to get out of here. Thanks for saving my beautiful Skakti face from being a big maskless freak over here, Vizon said. You're no better than he is, Vizon. If I had my barbed bra sword and the Nui stone both intact, I could free us all, Tuyet said. For the love of the great beings, we're all civilized beings. Well, most of us at least. Shouldn't we be figuring a way out of here instead of arguing about some stupid Kanohi? Artaka said. What about the great being trapped in here? Should we rescue him too? Miserex asked. Well, that's two questions we have to answer now, Kapura said. Me and Hafu are just two short beings who can't fight, so we'll leave it up to the more barbaric ones to figure it out. To be continued. The Lewa Chronicles, Chapter 4. Traveling with Fashia and her fellow Agori friends, Lewa, Toa of Air, didn't really know what to do. He knew that just he and a few Agori wouldn't be enough to free his friends from the fortress. What shall I quick do? Shall Toa Lewa go out there with the rest of the Agori and the Matornar? Shall I get friend to figure a way out? Shall I get friend allies to help, or do everything by myself? Fashia smiled. My friend, don't stress yourself. We'll figure a way to free your friends in the fortress, no matter what it takes. Just calm yourself. Relax. Lewa took a deep breath and then let it out. Okay, Fashia, Lewa said. Toa Lewa will calm down. Lewa closed his eyes and opened them again, but what he saw was very unexpected. For a moment he thought it was a vision. After all, Toa do have them quite a lot, but this was no vision. Speeding through the jungle of Bota Magna was a Thornactus with a warrior clad in white and gray armor. He stopped right in front of Lewa. Neither of them were expecting to see each other. Why, I speak say, it's Krakua, Lewa said. How in the name of Montanui did you get here? I was just about to ask you the same question, Lewa, he said. So you managed to escape the fortress. It's a slow, long story, Krakua, he said. So, why are you here? I was sent by Turaga Vakama. I was tasked with guarding the very fortress you came from, and transport a message to Vakama's past self and tell him to risk destroying the Kanohi Vahi to save the future. The rest of the Agori held their spears to Krakua, not knowing that he was Fashia, Lewa said. Tell these Agori that Krakua is a friend and a Toa like me. Fashia then spoke the Agori language to the rest of them. They lowered their spears. So Krakua, taking that you are a friend and the same kind of warrior as Lewa, we must get going to the fortress to free everyone else, Fashia said. Krakua nodded. They all struggled into the Thornactus and drove off towards the fortress. To be continued. The Lewa Chronicles, Chapter 5. Lewa, Kukua, Fashia, and many other Agori were busy driving through the jungle of Bota Magna, all on Terex's Thornactus. It wasn't the best or most comfortable way. Not only that, but they were being bothered by insects. They were already attacked by several Gecko birds and Bracas monkeys released onto the planet, as well as non-Rahi beasts that were native to the planet. Neither Tala nor Agori knew much about the creature of opposite origin. A bunch of small insect Rahi buzzed in front of Kukua. "Let Lewa help assist you, old friend." Lewa used his elemental air powers to scatter the Rahi away. "Wait, you can control the elements?" Fashia said, curious. "Yes, it's a long story," Kukua said. They pressed on. To be continued. The Lewa Chronicles, Chapter 6. Lewa and his friends had been traveling for almost the entire day. They were all exhausted. The sun of Solus Magna was beginning to set. The Thornactus was then driven onto a ridge on the side of a cliff. Suddenly, a large temple was in sight. "Why, that's it," Lewa said. "I quick remember it now." Kukua drove them down the cliffside onto the ground again, but right about when they were going to stop, the vehicle was knocked into the air, spun several times before landing once again on all 5 of its wheels. "What was that?" Fashia asked. "Who knows?" Kukua said, picking himself up. "Anyway, we're here," he said. They all struggled towards the fortress and pressed on. To be continued. The Lewa Chronicles, Chapter 7. After picking themselves up and trying to heal themselves as quickly as possible, they all ran towards the fortress. The people in the fortress saw them. They all struggled towards him. Why, Kukua! "Hell Rex!" Kukua said. They pounded fists in the show of unity. Fashia and the Agori looked shocked and looked at them strangely. "Why do you pound fists?" Fashia asked. It is in Matoran tradition," Kukua said. Pounding fists is the show of unity and respect." Fashia translated it to the other Agori. The other Agori just nodded. "So what brings you two here?" Mizrix asked. "Puny Toa like you don't usually come to a fortress like this." "The reason why we're here, Mizrix," Kukua said, "is to free you. We both realize some of you are friends, some enemies, and some a little of both. But if you wanna get out of here, I suggest you listen to us." Mizrix gave a and just turned around and went back to the corner. All of them looked at them and wondered what's going to happen next. Alright, before we let you out, those of you who are not our friends," Kukua insisted, wagging his finger in their faces, if we let you out, you must promise not to harm the Matoran or hurt anyone else. Okay? Because if you don't, you'll rot in here for the rest of your agonizing life and die a slow, agonizing death of starvation and dehydration. The other enemies looked around. They realized they had no choice. All of them bowed their heads in the saying of yes. Kukua obviously didn't believe that they meant what they said, but he would take it anyway, seeing as they were all natives of the Matoran universe. "So why are you really here?" Mizrix said once again. "Well, there is more than one reason," Kukua said. Lewa is here to free you, but I am here to translate a message to Toa Vakama through time, warning him that he will have to destroy the Vahi to save the future." So it's a double whammy," Mizrix said. "I'll take it." Mizrix put his head in the corner again where he was trained on the wall. Krakua pulled out his long sword, about to slice through the bars, and then their chains. But just as that happened, they saw something moving in the bushes. All of them drew their weapons. They had no idea what it was going to be. Suddenly, what appeared to be a Toa, clad in orangish yellow and white armor, jumped out of the bushes. Who is that? Vashia said. It's a Toa. His name is Kila. He was once leader of his Toa team. He disappeared a while back. At least he's here now. Welcome back, Kila, Lewa said. It is a great honor to have you back. Lewa held out his fist. Kila paused for a moment before pounding it. Now they had yet a third Toa on their team. To be continued. The Lewa Chronicles, Chapter 8. The Agori and Toa and prisoners of the fortress all look at Kila. So, what brings you here, Kila? Krakua said. You see, Kila sighed. It's because I fled the Matoran universe using a vehicle. Because I realized that there's no way a pterodactyl could possibly be defeated, and I realized I could at least save myself, so I can carry on the tradition of the Toa and save others. But I knew there's no way pterodactyls could be defeated without Motunui, and Motunui was gone. Who knows how Spherus Magna became whole again? But hey, I don't care. As long as we have a new home now, we can rebuild our society. Lewa then came to him and put his hand on Kila's shoulder. It is all right, brother, Lewa said. Pterodax was defeated. Motunui came back and killed him. Pterodax is now quick history. We'll never see that monster beast again. Are you sure he did? We thought we killed him that one time back on the island of Motunui with Takanuva, but he still survived. How can you be sure he's dead this time? Don't worry, Kopaka quick checked, and turned out he was gone for good. And Pterodax could not escape the body before his death. He is now gone. History. That's right, Mizrik said. Now I am the last of the Makuta. I am the sole survivor. Shut your hole, Mizrix, Krakua said, or else Makuta would be extinct. Mizrix humped and did just that, although he wasn't happy about it. So, Kila said, what are we supposed to do here? Well, there's two things, Krakua said. One, I must transmit a message to Turaga Vakama as a Toa, and when he was trying to retrieve the Vahi. I must tell him that he must be willing to destroy the Vahi to save the future. Did Turaga Vakama tell you to do that? Kila asked. Yes, in fact he did. He must know that if I don't go on this mission, it would in fact cause a paradox, destroying everything and everyone. Kila nodded. And what is the other thing? Well, I can quick answer that, Lewa said. You see, we are here to simply free these beings. Even the ones that are not even our friends shall be released onto Spherus Magna, for they made a promise, Krakua said, glancing and sneering at them, making sure they understood. They made a promise that they wouldn't kill anybody. Isn't that right, guys? All of them, even the ones that were friendly, nodded in fear. Krakua turned his head back to Kila. Suddenly, he saw two sets of beings. One was an army of scorpion-like creatures, and the other was one that they thought they would never see again. Zyglak. Look out behind you! Kila, Krakua, and Lewa said, drawing their tools. Don't worry, I am well aware of the Zyglak and Vorox behind me. Get them! Kila shouted. Both Vorox and Zyglak attacked. They were Krakua and Lewa fought like there was no tomorrow. But alas, they were vastly outnumbered. They were immediately tied with a rope around a tree. Ah, so you must be Toa Lewa and Toa Krakua, a Vorox said. Yes, and who are you? Krakua said. I am Kabrua, leader of the Vorox. So, you can speak. Congratulations. But it seems like you're no better than the wretched Zyglak over there. We can speak too. A Zyglak came. The Zyglak was clad in green armor. I am the leader of the Zyglak. Give me one good reason why I should not eat you now. You will make a fine meal after all. Oh, I wouldn't recommend it, because we'll kill you first, Krakua said. That will be a violation of the Toa Code. We can't have that, can we? The Zyglak said. And he sneered and turned away. Why, Kila? Why do this? Krakua said. You see, I am tired of being misundertreated for beings that don't care for me. I may have, when I was created, a great being was put inside of my mind to control me all this time. But when Pterodax was defeated, me and the great being left, as the great beings have failed to protect others. We then went to the most habitable of all three parts of Spherus Magna, Bota Magna. But then they were fused back together, and the great being left my mind, seeing as that the destiny has been fulfilled. That is when I stumbled into the Vorox. The Vorox, like anyone else, worship the great beings and think of them as anyone would. You see, like Rudaka said, obedience. This is but the first of many lessons I can teach you, he said, putting his index finger to Lewa. Lewa looked scared. Kila sneered and immediately took his finger off of Lewa's chin. He turned around. Wait, do the Vorox even know the great being has left your mind? No, they don't, Lewa said to Krakua. But they will never find out. That's right. They won't find out, because if they do find out, they'll realize that you're no more of a Toa. They'll hate you no more than they hate us. You're half right. But remember obedience. Yes, that is the first of many lessons we can teach you. That's the second time you said it. So screw it. We're finished here. Lewa just looked down in misery. But that's when Krakua made his move. Not to escape Kila's bonds, but to transmit the message to Turaga Vakama as a Toa Metru. His Kanohi began to glow. He glowed bright white. Kila thought that this would be a use of a mask power. He's using his mask power. Point your weapons at him. If any sudden moves are made, unleash all your firepower. The Vorox pointed their high-tech blasters at Krakua. But orders were, if they only fire if Krakua made any sudden moves, which he didn't. All he was doing is simply fulfilling his destiny and transmitting the Taranga Vakama through time. As soon as he was done talking to the once Toa, he opened his eyes and his mask stopped glowing. Funny trick, Kila said, but is that really necessary? It is necessary, Krakua said, for I am a way better Toa than you, he shouted, immediately grabbing his sword, slicing through the ropes, freeing him and Lewa and all the Agori. The Vorax fired, but Kila unleashed his sonic powers at the Vorax, thus deafening them. To be concluded. The Lewa Chronicles, Chapter 9. Krakua and Lewa immediately got free of their bonds. They realized that they were vastly outnumbered, and this time when the Vorax, Zyglak, and the rogue Toa captured them, they won't be left for death. They would be killed instantly. So they realized they needed reinforcements. Krakua and Lewa grabbed their swords and chopped through the prison bars. They then severed the chains of all of their friends' enemies and friend enemies. But there was an old saying, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. After all those enemies and friend enemies both hated the Vorax and Zyglak just as much as anyone else. They all grabbed their weapons and began firing. Many battles were taking place all at once. Some of the beings had even lost their tools, but they fought like wild Rahi anyway. By punching and kicking Zyglak, the Krakua and the green Zyglak, the leader of the Zyglak, both got back to back. Whereas they realized that they could not win this fight. So they realized they had only one option: run. They all got on Miserix and tried to get away, but Kila obviously wasn't letting this happen. Kila knew just as well as they did. There was an old phrase: one who surrenders one day lives to fight another day. Henceforth, he knew that they would be back someday with a better army. So Kila immediately ran up a tree, using his plasma elemental powers to jet rocket him up into the air. He then got on Miserix's back and held out his laser harpoon and attempted to stab it right into Miserix's back, thus killing them all. Oh, fool! You fool! You'll be killed too! Krakua said. I'm no fool. I have plasma powers that could jet rocket me right off of Miserix just as easy as I got on. Krakua lashed out at Kila, trying to take a slash out of his heart light, but Kila immediately caught Krakua's sword between his palms and kicked him back. Krakua immediately grabbed Miserix's leg and swung himself back up. Krakua realized even Kila, vastly outnumbered, has become much too powerful to defeat. So he put his sword away and just decided to go back with him, where he could get more Toa to get rid of him. However, Kila simply wouldn't allow this. There was one time where Lariska, the Dark Hunter, came to me. Her arm was cut off by the Shadowed One after she led a failed siege on Metru Nui. Henceforth, she came to me. After all, I do wear a Kanohi Krilli and can regrow mechanical material. So I was able to regrow a mechanical arm. But sadly, if I cut off any of your limbs, You're not gonna be getting any mechanical replacements, courtesy of my Kanohi. Kila grabbed out his other Toa tool, his plasma launcher, and began to trying to blast them. But Miserix was able to fly in different directions to dodge this. Kila, immediately realizing that they would not stop until he was defeated, jumped off of Miserix, and got back to the Thornactus that once belonged to Terex and made his escape. Shall we stop him? Spashia said. No, he's gonna defeat us if we try and do that. Plus, where will he go? We can easily tell the rest of the Toa and our friends that he has betrayed us, and no one will accept him. And with that, Miserix flew off to the Matoran Agori settlement without Kila. No one knew what would happen to Kila. The end.